think that Brian didn't want to come home because him and my husband didn't get along very well. My husband is a very controlling person. He's gotten better, but he was very controlling. He wants things his way, and Brian never agreed with anything that he said. So I think that in the back of Brian's mind, he really blames my husband for everything. So the ranch had a white fence and had horses all around. And then the gate opens, and it looks like a ghost town. A dude ranch. His bedroom was basically a small house, a cottage. Oh, okay. Each cottage had a different name for it. And I can't really pronounce the names. The first one was, I seen shared.
Sounds like maybe
Shirakawa, but that's not how you really spell it. And there was another house, Dragoons. And there was another cottage named Dragoons. And I can't remember the other names.
Native American?
So they were basically Native American names. So Brian was there from August 4th. And he's still there now. And he's still in Arizona. He stayed in therapy for about treatment for about 8 or 9 months. He stayed in inpatient therapy treatment. And this again had different levels, and they also had special names for each level. And so that first day, we arrived at the treatment. We took a tour of the grounds, and it's called Inbounds Ranch. It's very expensive, but it was both of our parents' idea.
Yes,
but his grandparents are the one who paid for this treatment. I would never pay that much for that treatment. I could never afford that. I can't afford.
I can't
afford. So every 2 weeks, Brian would call, and he would be on speakerphone with the counselor, but it was challenging for me because I needed a video phone. So the interpreter would voice But I don't know how the interpreter voice for him.
Voice for who?
Go back.
The
So,
interpreter voice.
talk about that, the phone call again. Who was voicing?
So you have to remember that we were calling from Ohio, and he was calling from Chicago.
Who was calling from Chicago?
Brian was calling from
Who
Chicago.
was calling from Chicago? Who was calling from
Brian's. I have no.
Ask her. Who was calling from Chicago?
So my ex-husband was calling from Chicago.
Hmm? I don't know yet.
Okay, so I was calling from Ohio. Brian's dad was calling from Chicago, and Brian was calling from Arizona. So we were all on speakerphone. But you have to understand that we have to go through a video phone interpreter. Brian's dad was calling through VRS. And sometimes the conversation was a little confusing.
And so I was calling through VRS, through an interpreting service. And Brian's dad was calling through video interpreting service as well. And then there was Brian. So with all the calls coming in, and 2 of the calls were happening through video relay services, it was a little bit confusing. It was a little bit tricky.
But we made it work.
I'm assuming Brian is hearing, and this is the first time I realized, so you and Brian's dad are both deaf? And in this mix of in-laws and relatives, is it just his mother and father that were deaf? Or are there in-laws or other people that were deaf involved with this marriage?
So my ex-husband is deaf.
Who's deaf again?
So I'm deaf. My husband, who I'm married to now, he's deaf, as well as my ex-husband. And my ex-husband's wife is deaf. But she wasn't involved at this time. But I'm pretty sure that she watched.
And so what wasn't the wife involved with?
She wasn't on the phone, but I'm pretty sure that
Brian's father's wife wasn't involved in the phone call, but I'm sure she was watching in on the side, because you can watch what's going on with the video relay services. And so just one little thing too, so her husband,
that she's married to now.
how do we say that?
So my husband,
How do
my
we say
current
that?
husband.
My current husband. Just another word for that, because I think you made it longer by saying my husband who I'm married to now.
Mm-hmm.
So just to try to shorten that up a little bit, because you've got lots of information still coming back. Okay.
My ex-husband's wife, his current wife, she wasn't involved within in the treatment. And Brian didn't want her a part of it.
So she wasn't involved, why? There's 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons why she wasn't involved. Something here and something here. What were those 2? Say again?
Me and my son didn't want her involved. And me and my ex-husband didn't want her involved, and my son didn't want her involved. So me and my current husband didn't want her involved, as well as my son. And she's also a major B, but I won't say the word. She would have screwed everything up. my ex-husband agreed that she should stay out of it as well.
Surprisingly, but he agreed.
Surprisingly, but he agreed. She would have just caused so much more than what the situation was. But anyways, so now my son is in Arizona. And speaking of that year, so he was granted 3 family weekends, 3 family visitations.
Who was?
So the family was required to go visit Brian 3 times.
What's that called? The 3
3
what?
visitations,
3 what? She says it.
3 family weekends.
Yes. So we were required to go to 3 family weekends.
Can I hold the
Okay.
thing
No.
for 1 minute and I'm just wanting to ask Arissa, because sometimes it's hard for people to do, but Wendy really mouths everything she's saying. So I'm wondering if you're trying to look at the full picture, her signs and her mouthing, because she's telling the story and signing at the same time.
Word
I
for
mean,
word.
really word for word. So and I know it's hard. You're like, I don't want to miss a sign, but if you really try to look at everything, her signs, and read her lips, she's really
Yeah.
telling you the story.
So take notice of where your focus is. Are you focusing on the signs themselves, or are you focusing on the whole picture? Are you watching her face and seeing her signs in the peripheral, or are you watching her signs? Take notice of where you tend to watch,
Okay.
like in general too, because even without her, deaf people in general, if you watch OIC movies, just try watching one and see where is your focus.
It's like
Generally.
an average right
Is it
here, but I
here?
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because if you're watching the face, you'll be able to catch so much, including what's on the mouth. So take notice of that. Okay. She's interpreting. What? Oh, I see. Oh my gosh. I just learned about ASL Ella, too. You know Ella, what's her name? Deaf lady. Research and Theory is using her videos. It's on YouTube. Ella May Lentz. Oh my God.
Never heard of it.
Beautiful signer. Deaf. It's on YouTube. It's ASL. I think it's capital ASLELLA. Capital ASL Ella. Her name is Ella. But
What did you just do for YouTube?
YouTube, like the movie, but YouTube. I don't know if it's widely used, but
She didn't make that up.
no, I just found out about it 2 days ago. But it's beautiful. She talks about how deaf people were being oppressed, I think, and she talks about this stuff, and then she uses her left hand. She's doing this, and then she comes back and does that. I think the video that she does that on is called Deaf Mute. I think I saw the title. She's a beautiful signer. Oh my gosh. So, mark it down. Sorry. A little bit of a
Can
tangent.
you write that down on a napkin for me so I can keep that?
Yes. I think then. What?
It looks like the dentist trip went well. My husband took 3 girls, took all 3 of our daughters to the dentist, and they all like to scream whenever they go. But it seems like everything went smooth. They don't like going to the dentist. Emily screams whenever she goes. But today, it seems like it went well. Everything was perfect. Okay, so I have to back this a little bit. The first day we met, first day we went there, so Brian, in his room, there are bunk beds.
They are, but that was
She's meaning something, so use context. So that the first day, they're meeting something that she smells. So use this to predict that it's going to be a person, not a thing. So they're meeting who?
Oh, his
Roommates, but
So
what
I
was she
met-
calling them?
bunkmates.
Hmm?
So the first day we arrived, we met Brian's bunkmates. And I think there was 6 of them. There was one boy who was from Utah, Upper Arlington. And he's really from Ohio, really? Wow. And he was addicted to heroin. So fast forwarding a little bit, Brian graduated from inpatient, I think, June. He graduated in June. He graduated from high school while he was inpatient, and I flew. So in inpatient, they have a school that all the students are required, that all of the patients are required to go to, and they don't get any vacations, any breaks. It's basically all summer. So the goal is to keep them busy. But they do fun things there, but without pertaining to drugs or anything. They go on walks, they go on hikes, they go horseback riding. I forgot what they call it, but it's called something. But every Sunday, they will go out to the desert.
They do what in the desert?
Every Sunday they go horseback riding in the desert. But you have to sign up before you do. And Brian will always be the first one on the list to sign up. And during that time he would jump over everyone just to sign up first. He would end up fighting with people. He would fight to get his name on the list. I'm just being sarcastic, saying that he would jump. He wouldn't really climb to sign. He wanted it so bad. They went snowboarding. The snowboarding trip, have you guys heard of the Sweat Lodge?
Mm-hmm. Only thing I heard about that was that terrible thing where all those people died. Oh my
What's
God.
the sweat
Oh, yeah,
lodge?
you're supposed to be interpreting. All those people died. Remember, I can't remember, was it last year? That was the first time I even heard about the Sweat Lodge.
What's the sweat lodge?
Sweat.
He was in the program when that happened, and I was freaking out, and I had called to make sure everything was okay, but they told me that he was fine.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I know about that.
That's over. Can you come back? Okay. Do we need presenters still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.